Hey guys, welcome to the YouTube channel. So for anyone who doesn't know, I run the Red or Dead podcast on Spotify. I'll leave a link in the description for anyone who's a United fan and wants to hear about what I think is going on with United. We had a couple of quieter United weeks, and obviously we're sort of right in the thick of it with the Euros. So I thought, seeing as I've been talking about sort of England stuff a fair bit on that podcast, I'd sort of move on to YouTube. And I think on YouTube as well, it gives me this opportunity to kind of show you guys lineups and sort of visual things that I'm talking about to kind of discuss England in a bit more depth and things that I would do in certain situations. So first things first, a little sort of review of England so far. They've been fearful. I think that's the best way to put it. They've been fearful because I think Southgate reached the peak in the World Cup where he really went and attacked teams, where he went after teams like Senegal, Wales, Iran. He really looked like, we're going to go and put goals past them. And he's come to this stage where at this World Cup he's gone, it seems to me, and this might not be true, but it seems to me like he's just gone, right, I'm going to stick the 11 best performing English players in sort of relative positions across the pitch, and hopefully they kind of do it. It doesn't work. It never has worked because international form and club form don't correlate. You've got to trust some players that have done it for you before, right? Look at teams like, for example, Netherlands. They still play Wout Weghorst. Everyone remembers to spell it United. And he scored to start this Euros. Look at Breland Bolo, been out with an ACL, comes in, scores, and he now starts. Shaqiri plays for Chicago Fire into his 30s, scores that banger against Scotland. I almost forgot who it was for a second. But do you know what I mean? And it goes both ways as well. I don't think Xavi Simons has looked as good as he is in at club level. Florian Wirtz was dropped. You had Frimpong wasn't starting ahead of Dumfries because Dumfries has always done it for the Dutch. And yeah, like it goes both ways. Like some players look really good, some players don't. And obviously you do get players that translate both ways, right? I think obviously like the Spanish team have looked really good. If you look at Morata's had a good season, Atletico looked good in this tournament. You've got Yamal, who just looks amazing. You've got Williams, who just looks amazing. What I would give for Yamal and Williams to be United's right left wing. Oh, the money I would give. No, but that is a pipe dream. I'm not going to get into that. But you have both things, and sometimes with England, Southgate is always known, for example, players like Foden don't really ever translate over for England. I don't know if he needs, Daddy Guardiola to hold his hand through every game, or if he, just like, I don't know what it is, but he never seems to really cut it for England. There's players that do, Kane, Bellingham, Rice, Saka, they do, right? So you keep them in. And I think it might have definitely been worth him bringing one of his trusty left wingers, the likes of Grealish, Rashford, Saka. I think the fact that it's not Saka, Sterling, right? I think the fact that he's left all of them behind is just, you got to have one of your guys that you can just, that will turn it on for England. Grealish always seems to somehow unlock teams for England. He obviously gave that assist against Germany, which is probably the only really big team that we've beaten in a major tournament since Southgate's come in. Also, how does he get these draws? Like, I just don't believe. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like every time he's in a major tournament, he seems to luck his way through the easiest draw of all time. And apart from Euro 2020, where he faced up against Germany, it's like, who is he playing? And every time he's faced a big team, he's crumbled up. But I'm sorry. It feels rigged at this point. I'm not going to accuse anyone of anything, but do you get what I mean? Like, Southgate is incredibly lucky in that sense. But I'm gonna touch upon like what England should do on Saturday against Switzerland. But I think the important thing is it's got to be a system that works. You can't shoehorn players that have just played well at club level, right? Because some of them, and I think this is very applicable for a player like Phil Foden, some of them do it because their club manager is incredible. So he will hold your hand through certain situations, right? But, Southgate is not that quality of manager, and needs players that can do it without heavy instruction or kind of hand holding. So that's an important thing to kind of consider. And I've tried to build a formation which I realise with the amount of changes that are here, it's going to scare Southgate right out of his little beige panties. But like some of these are super necessary, and I think as well, I've tried to play players in positions that work for them without too much input from Southgate. I've sort of imagined that they've shipped me in, I don't know, tomorrow morning to Germany, and I've got Thursday and Friday to talk to them, and Saturday morning before they go in and play at 5 o'clock on Saturday. And I want to kind of be in a position where I don't have to do too much, so to speak, right? So to touch on this formation, because I don't want this just sitting here forever while I waffle, because give me the excuse and we'll go on for about an hour. But touching on this team, I'm going to talk about the players that don't change to start with. So obviously Pickford, no need to change. I will say though, with Pickford, everyone overhypes this like amazing distribution. Pickford has okay distribution. He can pass to about 10 yards and then welly it with his left foot, right? I wouldn't call that distribution. I think most amateur goalkeepers can do that. I think fine with his feet, but this team isn't going to require too much passing to and from the keeper. I'm going to also try and avoid too much of passing back to the defence and passing back to the keeper and cycling the ball that way, because it's clearly not working and it's boring to watch. So Pickford doesn't need to change. Stones doesn't need to change. That midfield does not need to change. I think Rice has been good. Rice, cutting I've seen him get so much flack online, and it's just like Rice has played with Trent and Gallagher, and those two disaster class of midfield performances. It's just like he's doing everything he can to kind of hold it together. So and he's done a little bit of running forward when Mainoo's played with him. I think Rice has been good. He doesn't get dropped. I think Bellingham was the only one who really showed any sort of impetus against Slovakia, and I think if it was the option between him and Foden, I'm absolutely taking Bellingham, because with Foden you get what Mr. I'm going to dribble sideways, pass sideways, and look sideways. It's a miracle that he just didn't go around a circle and actually get off the pitch when he eventually did. But if we have to, obviously everyone knows about Bellingham's sort of little mishap on camera towards the end of the game, where he behaved slightly inappropriately. I think if he does get suspended for that, which it's not my place to. I don't know the rules, so it's not my place to say whether he should or shouldn't get suspended for such behaviour. I just think if he does get suspended, you play Foden in that position. If he doesn't, you don't. Simple as that. Or you can play Palmer there and put Foden out wide, either or you can get rid of Foden entirely, put Palmer in the midfield position, sack off the right, Gordon off the left, and just play your standard 4-3-3 and treat it as if you played one of Rashford, Sterling or Grealish off that left, and go from there. But if Bellingham's there, you absolutely play Bellingham, and he's very important for what I want to do with this particular team, because it lines up like this, but that's all it does. Looking like this, it's going to look very different through different phases of play, which I really want to touch on. Sack off the left. Obviously I don't want him dropped from the team. It's important why he plays off the left, and I'm going to touch on that as we go along. No, he's not going to be a left back or really a left wing back of any sort, and I'll explain that as well. I'm not like Southgate, where if a pundit says it, I'm just going to go, oh, okay, that's what we're going to do in the tournament. I do have a brain of my own. Obviously Palmer comes in. I think he's looked brilliant. He's shown his pace, his trickery. He's played some really, really good passes and crosses. It's actually criminal if he doesn't start on Saturday. I don't know who he starts ahead of, but he starts. He just has to start. I don't care, right? And I think the big one, I've put Tony/Kane. Now, a couple of people have said this, and by people I mean pundits. I'm not talking about random people on Twitter. But a couple of people have said that he's looked a little bit injured, he's looked a bit leggy, and I would tend to agree as well. He does look a bit off the pace. I mean, he's never been a rapid player, but he looks not up to standard, to the quality that he is. Like, everything seems to be a little bit under hit. And he looks exhausted. He's coming off an injury break, so maybe that's it. And the reason I put Tony / Kane is because I just think if he's the same level that he was against Slovakia and sort of the rest of the tournament, he has to. I don't see a world in which he starts it. It just doesn't really make sense. But if he's fine, if somehow he's recovered by then, or they've done something and he's ready, like at least 95% fit come Saturday, I think he's fine for it. I think he offers what we need him to offer in this formation, as does Tony. And now to touch on this defense, the changes in defense. I've changed 3 defenders. Now, one of Gomez or Konsa has to come in for Gehi, because obviously Gehi's suspended. I know it's been mentioned that Dunk might play there. That would be criminal. Oh my god, Dunk is terrible for England. And also, he's not a young defender where you're like, oh, we've got to bet him in. I can't even believe that Dunk has even made it to the tournament over Branthwaite. And if you're picking players for aura, why haven't you taken John Henderson? Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't really make sense to have taken Dunk, but fine. He's there, let him warm the bench, let him hype the players up before games. But I think Konsa has to play. I think Konsa probably will play because he came on towards the end of the Slovakia game. That might not mean anything, but I'm hoping that it means that Konsa plays. As for Gomez at left back, Trippier has just looked off it. And what I want to do with this team, and I think the astute ones of you out there will have realised by now that the left back isn't going to play as a conventional left back in sort of the attacking phase. So that's why I put kind of an auxiliary left back there who generally plays at centre back. And I think Gomez is good. He's a bit more sort of mobile than Trippier. Trippier's pulled one too many disaster busts to be able to play. If you're able to play Shaw, fine. But I just think if you can avoid the risk for one more game, or you can prove that this system works, where you don't have to play Shaw and you can genuinely just save him for the final or whatever, do it. Because if Shaw is not fully fit, you don't achieve anything by bringing him on. We brought him, for example, United themselves, we brought him on against Luton and he had to come off before half time. That's how badly. So that's what my take on Luke Shaw would be. And as for Walker has been progressively sort of dipping since the start of the tournament. And he pulled a real disaster dust in Slovakia. Walker was the guy who could lock down Mbappe and Vinicius, and now he can't even lock down some Slovakian left winger. Honestly, still don't know who he is, right? But Walker looked ropes and he cannot play. He looked every bit his age, and in a way, I'm not saying Walker's a terrible player. Walker's always been a quality right back, and I think he's just looking his age. He's 34. His best attribute is his pace. That's starting to wane. Get him off the pitch. I put Trent in there. Again, Trent is not going to play. Is going to play closer to your Liverpool kind of Trent, right? More of that right-sided midfield / right back kind of situation. And to touch on Trent as well, I know Southgate loves this whole because Klopp plays him in centre mid, I'm going to play him at centre mid. Klopp doesn't play him at centre mid. Klopp plays him at right back, and then Trent kind of occupies that right centre mid option when Szoboszlai attacks. But the reality of the situation is he only occupies that kind of right centre mid, right mid kind of area because he puts in crosses from that area. His short passing is not brilliant, and his positioning, as we know, is terrible. So we're in a position where you don't want to kind of change things up too much from what they already do. So play Trent as a right back and let him do right back thing. And as for the rest of the team, they kind of stay the same. So I'm going to start on the defensive phase because just a little something for Southgate in case he sees this video. I'm sure this bit will excite him, and obviously you can stop it once I start talking about attacking, as I imagine you probably will. But in the defensive phase, I think the easiest thing to do, if you've not got much time to train something like this, is to go, okay, we're going to play your standard 4-4-2 block. Lots of managers do this. This isn't like a criminal thing. You're not I don't want anyone calling me Deitch in the comments, right? Your standard 4-4-2 block, I'm not saying park up 4-4-2 for the whole game. I'm saying sometimes it's okay in the defensive phase to make yourself difficult to break down. Switzerland are quick. They're going to try and move the ball around quickly. And if you can create sort of a quicksand in the middle of the pitch, you're going to make it, or sort of in your third, you're going to make it difficult for them to sort of play around you, and you can win the ball back quickly, right? And the things I talk about in the defensive phase, the reason I want to win the ball back quickly is because then you're then in a position where you can start where you can start, moving it into the attacking phase very quickly. I think the problem is we don't win the ball back quickly because everyone's way too detached, and we don't have a defensive phase and an attacking phase. So then you're kind of you just have Stones passing to Pickford all game, and then eventually it's just oh no, panic stations, Bellingham's going to make a run with it. So this is your defensive phase. When we're defending, we go into this 4-4-2 block. We squeeze Switzerland, try and win the ball back as quickly as possible. We don't want to be in this position for too long because it doesn't achieve anything. It's just to win the ball back, right? Crowd out the midfield and the wings. Now, alternatively, you can also do something like this. So you put sort of the Tony Kane. I'm going to call it Tony for now because, as I said, I just don't think Kane's going to be ready. And I'm going to confuse myself and keep saying Tony Kane. But you play a 3-3-3-1. 3-3-3-1, yeah. And you create that kind of block in kind of your middle phase, right? Now, what this does is it gives you that wing to play, as you can see with the mouse, but you can't really do too much because you have to eventually move the ball to the side because certain incredibly quality players can score from this kind of region here, but you're assuming that you can't really score from this kind of region. You have to come in, and when you come in, you're blocked out. This whole thing is going to be a nightmare to get through. I don't care however good, if you park 9 guys in the middle of the pitch, you could be Spain of the early 2010s. I don't see people playing around this. You can't. You physically cannot, right? I'm squeezing out the midfield, so you can't do too much of it. So that's kind of the situation with our defensive phase. Southgate, you can send the video off now. This is the bit that I'm really interested in, which is how we play in attack. Now, bear with me because this is gonna look nuts, but I want everyone to fill specific purposes. So it's gonna look like a 4, not even a 4. It's gonna look like a 3-4-3 kind of, but it's not. So kind of bear with me as I go through each player's role. I want everyone to do a thing that they do well for their club. So starting off with their defence, you've got Konza and Gomez who can play that left and right sided centre-back position. We know they can. They've done it before. They've done it for their clubs. Gomez has done it for England. Stones, obviously, has done this as well countless times. That works. That's fine. You've got Rice playing as the deeper midfielder, him and Mainu. Because we've got 3 centre-backs, I want Rice/Mainu to be to just be your knitsmen, your connectors. Just get the ball off the defence and move it through the phases, right? This is the problem. A lot of the time we've got this kind of situation going on. Then we've got a right back, for example, assume this is Walker who's up here, and then you've got a left back who's kind of in this position, but not really. He's kind of up here because Trippier has to invert. And then you've got these defenders who keep knocking it about, and you've got nothing to do, right? So if I move everyone back to where they are, suddenly you've got connectors at every point on the pitch, right? You've got guys who can kind of knock the ball to each other quickly and move the ball quickly, and it also means because they're closer to each other, they don't lose the ball. And because you've always got a forward option, you're in a position where you don't have to go back to the defence, and the defence their focus is just to maintain that line. And stop, Switzerland getting behind. So that's the key here. Now, Rice and Mainu, they can rotate. This does not need to be fixed, right? They can rotate. They never really should ever be next to each other. The point is you're creating this kind of connection up into the attack, but Rice can push forward, Mainu can drop. It's whoever comes to receive, whoever goes on there to toss to progress the ball, and obviously they can both run through this area. They're both very capable of doing so. Now, if I move to Trent and Saka, you're operating Trent in this position where he is very good, right? This is what he does. He's a right back / right midfielder because he comes into these areas and then, makes his switches or makes his passes into midfield. And then he moves into this area. So this light green where he is right now, this sort of dark green here, and he whips his crosses in for people to get onto, right? And that's where, your Tony and Bellingham come in to receive these crosses, right? Or, if we need to shuttle the ball quickly, obviously, first things first, right? We've got triangles all over the pitch, right? You've got this Mainoo Rice detachment here. You've got Rice with a triangle here. If he shuttles across, he's got a triangle with Stones and Konsa. He's got a triangle with Stones and Gomez. And then he's got one where he can either go out to Saka, or if he shuttles across, he can go to Trent. And then you've got Mainoo as the next option in midfield to kind of receive the ball and shuttle across here, right? This is where sideways is important for Foden. So Mainoo can then receive the ball and move across, and then he creates the triangles with Saka, Bellingham, or he creates the triangles with Palmer, Trent. There's a literal triangle at the top here, sort of top of the kite, so to speak, because it's kind of like a kite. Or, if they need to then kind of shuttle the ball back this way, they can, but you're not going back to the defence and going back to the keeper for nothing. You're playing around this area, which is where it really makes sense. So that's what I want to kind of create here. And obviously Trent can then do what he's good at. So if he's operating in this region, Tony and Bellingham, I was about to say Tony and Kane again, Tony and Bellingham kind of make that runs in. You've got Palmer who kind of operates in this area. You've still got a triangle here. And then you shuttle across here, you've got a triangle here. And then Saka, if you've got these triangles, you can shuttle the ball quickly across the left side. If you can't do that, Saka then moves in here. Trent can make that big switch over to Saka. Suddenly you've got these guys as options. Or Saka can even come in and be another option to go and score. Suddenly, Trent has got 3 guys to hit and 1 edge of the box, right? And Mainoo will shift up, Rice will shift up, Gomez, Stones, Konsa, and, if the ball sort of bobbles back, Mainoo can get it. Him and Rice can sort of maintain some control. Trent, can kind of operate in this area. You've got a triangle here. Then move up here, you've got a triangle up here, Palmer, Trent, and Mainoo, and then you can start moving it back into the forward line. So you're in a position where everyone is kind of shuttling the ball across the pitch very quickly, very efficiently. We're not losing the ball. I put the ball in the wrong place. And then you've got, your Tony in this position. Now, with the rest of the build-up. Now, Trent, we're getting him to do what he is very good at, right? We've got the defence to do what they are good at. And obviously, Stones, the thing is, he can get the ball, even if he gets it from Pickford or he gets it from Konsa or Gomez, he can step into midfield, If you still want that kind of overload in this area, Stones can step in here, right? And then you've got Mainoo a little bit further forward, triangle here, shuttle him here, triangle, Stones, Trent, Mainoo, if you want to make that triangle even closer, right? You've always got passing options everywhere, and the key is to move the ball up the pitch. So that's kind of how that works. Now, in the attacking phase, you've got Saka now playing as your left midfielder. He's not a left back. I don't want him defending. There's a reason I've got 3 centre backs, right? And also Rice. If you really want to create that kind of, that kind of overload, you've got Gomez. Gomez and Stones can sort of split. Rice can drop in here. You've got 4 guys in defence if you really need to, right? But I don't want Saka ever defending. He's a left midfielder, potentially left winger in this formation, right? So move Rice further forward, Gomez back into defence, Stones back into defence, and Konsa back into defence. Saka is a left mid, left winger. He gives you the width on this side. He's going to run in behind, and because the thing with Saka so far this tournament, he's being dealt with on the right side because you can crowd up on him because Foden comes in and tucks into kind of Bellingham's position. You don't really have any threat off the left, so you can create overloads of the centre and the right. Now the problem is with this new formation, you've got so much attacking threat on both left and right. You've got Saka and Bellingham kind of playing off your left side, Palmer and Trent playing off your right side, and you've got sort of a shuttling midfielder in this area here. You have to deal with both sides, and that's where Saka gets a little bit more space, a little bit more freedom, and he's going to run in behind and do this stuff, right? Now, Saka's got 2 places which he can go. He can push really high up here, whip in your crosses for Tony and Bellingham. Palmer comes off the edge, and Trent, to receive it here in this kind of region to put a cross back in. Now, if you don't want to, if he wants to then be involved in the attacking phase, he can be. He offers another option if he kind of goes diagonally this way, and then offers another sort of goal scoring option when Trent whips it in or Palmer plays the ball through the middle. And I'll get to Palmer shortly, but you'll see why that's important as you go along. With Saka, he operates in this little, he can operate in this sort of region here. You've got your left midfielder, and then you've also got your sort of left inside forward. He can do both of those positions, and it means that he offers both an assist threat and a goal threat. And then obviously the thing is, we noticed a lot of Bellingham like sort of shifting out to the left to kind of facilitate Foden in the middle. I don't think we'll necessarily have to do that, because if Saka's coming in, he's just offering an extra goal scoring option, but generally he's going to operate as wide as possible because we're looking to spread the pitch as well, right? I know we want players close together, but that's the midfielder's job to shuttle and be closer to the wide players, but the wide players are still there to stretch the pitch. We need to be a problem to deal with. Right now, we're not an issue to deal with. We're very easy to defend against because everyone wants to play in the same position centrally. It's very easy to crowd us into midfield, right? What we want to do is shuttle everyone, sort of shuttle the ball across and also keep the width. It's very important. So that's why I think Saka plays a slightly different role here, because he can offer that goal threat. Ooh, I've gone way up. He can offer that goal threat and, kind of tuck in that area there. Bellingham, he is going to play as what I like to call the Lampard role. He's your late runner in from midfield, right? He's going to score you your goals. He's going to dribble the ball through. And for example, if he's making sort of a great run through the pitch here, you've got Tony kind of playing a little bit off him. You've then got, your wing backs running off these guys. I imagine obviously Mainu will then kind of move into this area. Maybe Stone steps in here. Because obviously ball's nowhere near our defence, so we don't need to worry about it. You've now got two sort of crossing threats. You're trying to deal with Bellingham. Maybe you get a bit too sort of central. You've got these guys out wide who've got no one coming at them. And for example, say the defence comes in at Bellingham and Tony. You then leave Saka a lot of freedom to do this kind of thing and then get in very close and maybe just give you sort of a tap in here to finish off, or if they're dealing with Bellingham and Tony, to do the same thing. So he's playing just off Tony. He's doing the kind of he's doing the kind of late running from midfield, either by himself or because someone's putting a cross in and he's coming to put his head on the end of the cross. And as we all know from the only goal we scored in the group stages, he's very good at, not the only goal we scored, the first goal we scored, he can score headers, right? So he gives you that option. Palmer operates in this triangle here, right? This upside down triangle here, because Palmer is your creator in chief. And the reason Palmer's really effective is because if at any point Mainu, for example, drops, or, Rice, for whatever reasons Mainu doesn't drop, for example, Trent can then do this to offer more a passing option here and then move back out. Or if Mainu does drop, Trent can drop in here. Palmer, we know Palmer can go wide. We know he can play a little bit more central. He can play as an inside forward and outside forward. He's got both of those options there. But he is not going to go into the box because his job is creator in chief for these two guys, right? What he's going to do is kind of operate in this area, get on the end of anything that's defended off, any scraps of these guys, perhaps some shots from this area, or also kind of thread any deliveries in through, or shuttle the ball out to Saka and Trent out here. So you've got a shuttler here, maybe Mainu gets in a bit closer to him there. You've got a shuttler here. Mainu's always an option, and Palmer can always operate in this kind of area. So you're giving him some free roam, but don't give them unlimited free roam, Gareth, because unlimited free roam doesn't achieve anything. It just means Bellingham runs out of steam. So you're giving him some free roam in this area, but you're telling him, Palmer, this is your Bermuda Triangle, so to speak. I was trying to think of like a Palmer Bermuda. No, it doesn't work. Palmer, this is your area. Do not to leave this area. You cannot to leave this area, right? Be a creator in chief. That's your area, and then obviously he can support Trent's crossing and passing in this area, or he could just knit the play over here. and Mainu can get as close to or as far away from him as he needs to. And obviously Palmer can then, he can also shuttle across. Say Saka's gotten a bit higher here and Bellingham's gotten up here. He can shuttle across, play to Palmer, play to Saka, play to Trent, and just create triangles. Bellingham, Saka, Palmer, Bellingham, Tony, Palmer, or Tony, Trent, Palmer, or you even get all the way across. Maybe Mainu has shuttled a little bit further this way. You want to create a bit of width. I know there's no one in midfield. Maybe Rice steps up, Stone steps up. You've then got Saka, Palmer, Mainu, and then Mainu has obviously got this. He's got this midfield triangle because Stones has stepped into midfield. But at no point do you have to go back to defence, right? And if you're absolutely getting pressed to within an inch of your life, you've got Mainu get to Gomez, Stones, Konsa. So you could even get it out to Konsa. I imagine at that point Trent drops, and then you move up the ball this way. And the beauty is, right, because Palmer by this point will have shuttled back across, you've created a triangle here. And then Tony, step in, triangle, maybe Bellingham, and then you move Tony up, you move Bellingham up. And then you've basically you're becoming very hard to deal with. And you're also becoming very good at not losing the ball in crucial areas. And if you do, have to win the ball back, you can shuttle it up very quickly without having to be too defensive. So that's kind of the way I would hope that England play. And I think that's what will get the best out of all these players, right? And the beauty is of a player of Bellingham and Palmer playing so close to Tony is that you're giving everyone what they do at their club level. So you're not only giving Tony the sort of target man, goal scorer kind of idea, and not having to run in behind what he does at Brentford. You're giving him Bryan Mbeumo, because you've got the runner in Bellingham and you've got still the creator, the left-footed right winger sort of situation with Palmer. You're giving him that, and he's obviously far better than Nicholas Jackson, but Palmer's got that player to hit, so you're giving him that. Mainu, he's playing a little bit further forward, which is where he plays best. You're protected by a proper DM in Rice, sort of in the way that Amrabat was doing, but you've also got an attacking midfielder to hit. So if you need that option, you've kind of got two doing what Bruno Fernandes does, which is play really, really high up. So you've got those options as well, right? So Mainu's kind of got what he's got at club level. Saka's the only one who is doing something very different to what he does at club level, but we know he can do this position, so you're not having to make him do something nuts. And he did it kind of well towards the latter stages of Slovakia, so that's fine. And as I said, with Bellingham, he's playing as a centre forward. He's making late runs into the box. He's maybe a little bit higher than Palmer. I'll put him maybe like there, Palmer there. We're not. I know I said late runs in from midfield, but it's more like late runs in from number 10. So you're moving from number 10 into like centre forward, right? So he's playing the same position that he's playing for Real Madrid. And then you can sort of then treat, because you're maintaining width on these sides, you're treating Saka and Trent almost like Vinicius and Rodrigo, because then you've got your wide sort of wingers who are going to come out and create, and then you've got him, Bellingham running in. This website does not like me. So you've got Bellingham sort of running in and making those late goals, so to speak, right? And this just gives you the opportunity to go and just keep winning the ball in good positions and keep moving it up the pitch. And also, you've just got so many goal-scoring options. You haven't just got one thing. You haven't just got the striker. You haven't just got this attacking midfielder. You've got goals coming in from everywhere. Crosses, passes. If you want to go tiki-taka through the middle, if you want to press, you've got everything. And because of this kind of kite formation, or some people call it the Christmas tree, although it doesn't really look like one, because of this formation, you naturally have to press as a team, because you can't press individually, because everyone's kind of in their own position. So you're going to get dragged out if you press individually, so you kind of have to press as a team, and then you've just got a natural press. So as I said, imagine this is me having to do this in between sort of tomorrow morning and Saturday. You don't have to teach a press, because you naturally have to press together in this formation. So that's kind of what you've got going on here. And really the final thing I wanted to touch on is, if we were to do the kind of the Man City thing, the four sort of centre backs. Now, as I said, under no circumstances do I want to play those down, so I'm not going to play actually four centre backs. Branthwaite would have been really good here, sort of the left centre back, and played in the Gvardiol role, but I just don't think we just don't have that option. So this is going to be kind of fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Man City's kind of like boxed midfield. So if we go back to what we kind of originally were, I suppose it was more of a 3 here, but it doesn't really matter. So you've got your natural wingers. In this position, maybe like Gordon would make a bit more sense to play kind of like a Doku, but this is like if you were playing Bernardo Silva and Foden. And then if you wanted to play Foden in this position, you probably could, but sort of Foden hasn't earned a start on Saturday, so I just don't think he plays. I think he will play according to Beigegate, but I just think like you're not gonna. I just don't think he should play, for example. So here's the situation. So with Saka, you've got Palmer, and then you want to create a box. So Bellingham's obviously going to be the more progressive one here. I think Mainu sits in with Rice. I don't know why I should shot him across. So sits in with Rice, and then you've got Trent who does this. You create your box midfield there, right? The reason why it's not Stone stepping into midfield, and because that's the thing he does naturally, is because then you would kind of be in a position where you'd have to do this. Stone steps into midfield, and Trent is going to have to be auxiliary centre back, which is not a position that anyone should ever have to be in, right? So we'll leave Trent to kind of play that midfield role, but not really midfield, more like attacking midfield. Or alternatively, because you're playing Palmer so narrow, you can play Palmer here, Trent up here, and then kind of you've got like a wide right sort of situation. I think Stone still has to play in defence, because again, obviously you're not having Mainu step into defence, and that would kind of work. But as I said, again, you need that auxiliary centre back to do that, because then obviously you can get Palmer up there, Bellingham up here. For a second, just imagine Trent is honestly anyone but Lewis Dunk. Then you can kind of do what Man City do, and then you can even potentially play Foden. But as I said, I don't want to see Foden near that lineup. But yeah, so this is kind of your plan, like C, D, E, and F, so to speak, right? I've given you plans A and B with both attacking, both defending, just showing you how we can move through the phases with these particular effective players and get the best out of all of these players, right? And then, as defenses tire, this is another really important thing that I just don't think Southgate does enough, which is think about what your substitutes are going to do when they come on, right? He throws on like Eze and Watkins like he's just, he's like they're just free to just throw on and they don't actually need people passing to them. If you want to then go get a bit more pace up top, right? Well, this website is not doing it for me today. So if you want to get a bit more pace up top, assume this is Watkins, right? You're playing a very different style of football. You've not then got a target man to hit, right? So then you've got to think about your defence. Trent has got to sit a bit deeper, right? Maybe he plays those passes, but he has to sit a bit deeper because your forward is not then playing in this half space. He's playing a lot further forward. And then your midfield, Bellingham running up next to him, that's going to leave gaps in midfield. So what do? You have to you've got to either get Bellingham to drop, or then potentially you play Gallagher, but off. I don't think, like we've had beers and trainers thrown on the pitch. We also don't need a Jack Russell Terrier thrown on the pitch either. But if we need that midfield to drop a bit, because we need a lot more sort of protection here, because this isn't going to be a protective thing once a Watkins comes on. You bring on Eze or a Gordon. Gordon's going to run in behind, so then he's operating maybe in this kind of area, right? Or kind of he will come in, but he actually will cut in and shoot. So it's going to be slightly different. Saka, he won't do so much as he will run along this area, but he's not going to cross as much, so that changes that side of the pitch. So maybe you need a bit more width on this side, right? So then potentially, I don't know, you move Trent even further up and bring Palmer even further in, or you bring someone else on. I couldn't tell you, I don't know, you bring on Gordon on the right, for example, but I still don't think he's an amazing crosser, so I don't think that works. So there is that option. Now, that's the important thing, right? If we're going to make subs in this England team, we have to make them so that they actually achieve something. If you're going to bring on Shaw, that changes the whole lineup, because then you're playing Shaw as a traditional left back, Trent as a traditional right back. Bellingham then has to drop and play as a traditional midfield. Then this plays as a normal 4-3-3. So there are so many different kind of things to consider, which is why Southgate don't just switch out your front line if it's not working. It doesn't make any sense. And if you are going to switch them out, so switch them out for like players, right? Or at least players with similar quality. When I say like for like, don't throw on Bowen for Saka. I think that's going to do anything. Because as I've said very clearly in my podcast, and as I feel very strongly, Bowen shouldn't have even gone to the Euros. Is unbelievably overrated. But fine, he's here now, so just leave him to one bench. Like, it's a great experience, holiday out in Germany, like, whatever. But this is what I think we should line up with. I don't think Southgate's got the tactical astuteness to pull this off. I just hope that we don't get pumped by Switzerland, because I don't see us beating them. But if we do, obviously I'm incredibly happy. The important thing is to win. But I don't see it. I think Switzerland are a far better team than Slovakia, and if we start the way we did against Slovakia, we're going to get punished. But if we do, fair play. And let's hope that things change moving forward. But yeah, I hope everyone sort of enjoyed this kind of foray into YouTube. I'm hoping to do this a bit more with sort of United lineups and potential lineups once I talk about some of those transfers as well. And I'll probably do some sort of preview ahead of the semi-finals once we get those 4 teams sort of ready, and talk about how they can sort of play against each other in that way, in this way. But yeah, really enjoyed having this to play around with. Hope you enjoyed listening. Thank you so much, everybody. Like, share, and subscribe. And also go check out the podcast. Link will be in the description. But yeah, take care, and hope everyone has a good rest of the week. And I hope we go and win on Saturday.